Hey everybody, welcome to Pale in Comparison, a proud member of the Doof Network. In this podcast, my sister uses her knowledge of the Otherverse to take a look at Pact, Wildbow's most reflective work, and I try to not give away any spoilers. I'm Jenny, and Malia convinced me to read Worm.
I'm Malia, and Jenny convinced me to read everything else. This episode, we are covering Mala Fide, chapters 10.1 and 10.2. Before we get into that, however, I'd like to issue a spoiler warning. This podcast is filled with pale spoilers. If you don't know how fucking annoying the Wild Hunt is, and don't want us to tell you, stop now, read Pale, and come back to this podcast. As for Pact, there'll be full spoilers through the chapters we are covering.
I also have to say, I'm really glad that you pronounced Malafide, because I would have been saying that wrong again. So,
I mean, it could be, yeah.
I'm assuming you're probably saying it right, because it sounds law-y.
Well, let me double check.
Okay.
Ben, you know bona fide?
Bona fide.
Okay, so bona fides is how you would say it in Latin.
It's how you're supposed to say it in English.
Cool. So it's Malafide.
No one does.
Yeah.
Malafide.
Cool.
Okay. Cool. Good
Okay, you heard it here from my fiance who took Latin and is often annoyed with lawyers and how they pronounce things. But I was right.
All right. Well, good to know. Sweet. We also want to remind you guys before we get started, we have a fan art contest going on right now. That the theme is redemption. So please get all your artsy brains going. And please submit something by Friday, July 22nd. You can send it to our email, which email are we having people send it to?
I think it might be... okay, don't quote me on this. I think it might be fanart@doofmedia.com. There's a post on the Doof website. I've posted it on Reddit, and
that was a good Reddit post.
I can repost things. Thank you.
I like it.
I'm learning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So yeah, get all your artsy stuff in by Friday, July 22nd, and you might win some money.
Woo!
Woo! Jinx. I don't know if it counts to say woo as a jinx, but anyway.
Sure.
All right, so it's a new arc.
What?
Yay! What is
weird having two digits? Like it's a double digit. You know how when you turn 10 and you're like, wow, double digits? Like,
yeah, I do remember that. I was pretty excited. That was pretty cool. It's true. I mean, I know the next time will be three digits, and that's not a guarantee. So getting a second digit's pretty important.
Pale might make it, but
Pale
didn't.
Yeah. All right. So what does Malafide mean?
So Malafide is Latin, and it means bad faith. Like bona fide or bona fide is like good faith. So this is the opposite of that. So like good faith is a important standard in law. It's kind of sprinkled throughout contracts and various like areas of law, and the idea is that, you know, acting in good faith can help you out with a lot of stuff. Like sometimes if you're what's called I want to say bona fide purchaser, BFP. Yeah, bona fide purchaser or bona fide purchaser. Like you bought land and you didn't know that it was like a fraudulent deed or whatever. Like basically like you bought something and you didn't realize it was stolen or whatever. You can often have a better claim for that because we're like, oh, well, they weren't acting with bad faith. They were acting with good faith, and we should, not
screw them over, basically.
Yeah. Even though you're sort of screwing over the person whose thing got stolen. But yeah. So good faith is really important. And yeah, so conversely, bad faith, it's kind of like acting with the intent to deceive someone. Another definition I saw was intentional or malicious refusal to perform some duty or contractual obligation. So like being a dick can make it so we don't help you out. And possibly sometimes impose punishments in the legal system. And it just makes me think of Rose, and she's
kind of being an asshole right now.
Oh my god, she's the worst! It's fine. fine.
It's fine. Man. I mean, I don't know why, but like, I just saw season 3 of the Umbrella Academy. Have you watched that show, Malia?
I've watched random episodes of season 1 with you, and that's it.
That's right. Okay. Well, I won't spoil anything except one of the characters who I've liked a lot. They've kind of like turned into a bit more of an asshole. Not to say that they don't have reasons for certain things, for sure, but like one thing, and I'm trying to be very vague. One thing in particular is like inexcusable. But yeah, so which is a real bummer because I'm like, oh man, I really, I mean, you know, they weren't perfect before, but I really liked them, and now like they kind of made them in like they're kind of being a dick. Anyway,
yeah, this is exactly how I feel about Rose. Like, I really liked Rose, and there are reasons for why Rose is like somewhat of a dick, but she's also like racist. Against others, you know? And it's just like, this is a lot, and I'm upset.
Yeah, I mean,
I
all right, well, we'll get into it
anyway.
more.
Yes.
Okay, I went a little bit lazier on the summary this time, but I mean, yeah,
it seems pretty thorough. I don't know.
Okay, I felt I'm kind of low energy because like
you've been sick.
I'm sick and I'm on call, so hopefully I don't get a call. Otherwise, it's gonna be a really short episode. So, but I've been called in the past 2 days, so I'm hoping I won't get called today. Well, so I probably it feels like I was taking more effort than it normally does, and I was just being like, ugh. So anyway, here's my summary, chapter summaries as a throwback. You know, Blake talks to Rose and his old friends. Rose is convinced that he's deceiving them and throws him out of the house. Blake runs into some non-friendly fae, but then meets some more pleasant others later. They help him to find Mags. He meets up with her, and they end up going to see Molly. What did you think of these?
I have a lot of feelings about Molly. This is
like some people who I feel like the only time I've heard someone like be that enthusiastic about Molly is when they're not talking about the person, but when they're talking about the substance. Go ahead, Malia. What did you think of these chapters here?
This in the moment at the end of this set of chapters, it felt like I think it was the hardest it's ever been for me to not like click next chapter. Which is kind of intense because like arc 9 happened, right? Like, and like, you know, Blake died or whatever. Like a lot of things have happened and a lot of like cliffhangers have happened, but this one I've been obsessed with Molly for so long. And she could talk. So
yeah,
that was exciting.
I'm gonna expect a bold and specific prediction out of this. And I mean, wait to the end if you can. So we'll drop it, but like like you better fucking have a bold and specific prediction for that shit.
Molly. Yeah, so that was really exciting. But the first chapter is so sad and awful, and I hate it. And I'm torn into tiny little pieces of sadness. Like Blake.
Poor Blake.
I
know. He's got a rough. He just has a rough life.
I know.
So Blake talks to Rose and his friends, or former friends, telling them who he is. Rose is very suspicious and hostile and ends up throwing him out of the property.
So first, like, Evan is so good.
He's like the light. He's like the little light in this whole like thing.
Yeah. And thinking about it, it's interesting story-wise that Evan is still the like most trusting. Like he's known Evan for like he knew Evan for what, like a week and a half or two. And I guess technically he didn't really know his friends. It's all just like complicated and weird and it's hard. But Evan, it speaks to the fact that Evan was the right choice for Blake, that this is just so good, and they're so good, and I love him so much. Like, he was like, he has sparrows like me, and I was like, ah. And then instead of I'm not crying, you're crying, I wrote I'm crying, you're crying. Oh, because Evan. Yeah, and just throughout this chapter, Evan is, yeah. I mean, just imagine this bit without Evan. Like Blake would have nothing.
Mhm.
And I mean, like knowing that Evan is dying and is like being held there and isn't allowed to like be with Blake and stuff, like that's all really hard. But it's still like, okay, one person here is willing to, or like things are kind of the same with one person. Like this kid thinks I'm the shit. This kid thinks, I don't know. I just, it's awful.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I guess I'm not sure how to approach this. I feel like I want to kind of go through the people and then we'll talk about Rose.
Sure.
So Alexis.
Mhm.
Sorry to everyone whose Alexas I just activated because I saw it flash blue from the other side of the room. Okay.
What was that? Oh, Alexa. Got it.
um, but she doesn't know Blake. She doesn't really trust Blake. She sees that the tattoos look like her work, but she doesn't tattoo people's faces. And just yeah, she has like a complete. She almost has like a non-reaction to him. Like she like pities him. She really wants to care for him, but she's like fighting that. And it's frustrating because she like she doesn't know why she trusts Rose. And I want this conversation to help Alexis like reflect and think like, okay, maybe it's because of that guy who said all these things about how we were friends.
Yeah.
And but I have no idea. I'm just hoping. It seems like this conversation should have repercussions within Hillsglade House is what I'm hoping. So we'll see. Um One thing that was weird is that Alexis is talking about being at the homeless shelter and hitting Carl with a chair,
Yeah.
and she's like, that wasn't like me, and I'm ashamed that I did that, kind of. And like, did that even happen? Is that a fabricated memory of her and Blake together that was altered when Blake's connections got erased? Is that like, did that actually happen? What is actually real? And like, I'm also unclear as to whether this matters and whether Wildbow will tell us. Because I feel like there's some stories where the like supernatural elements in the story that are happening, like the specifics and details of how everything works, like doesn't really matter. It's not the point. And so
Yeah.
not fully understanding stuff, like whatever.
Uh-huh.
And there's other stories where like things do kind of hinge on mechanics. And I in my brain, Wildbow's a little bit more of the second one, but and like that's I think why I'm so eager for like a Rose interlude or something, because I just really want like an explanation of how the fuck is this possible and what exactly is real. But then it's also like Blake's not real, quote unquote, but he is real and he did have this effect and he does have this effect and he is having this effect, so maybe it doesn't really matter. And I don't know.
Yeah. Neutral response.
Okay. So then I guess we'll talk about Ty. Ty literally is like, I believe you, bro. And then he's like, but there's
Nah.
shit going on. And I mean, I guess like, so to be fully fair to everything, like there's fairy and chronomancers and really powerful practitioners and like all this shit or whatever. And creating an entity and sending them into a house to be like I actually know all of you and none of you remember me, but I promise you have to trust me. Like, yeah, that sounds sus. And they could make something that thinks that it's telling the truth. Probably.
Mhm.
Like Blake, who thought he was alive. So that's all. Like, it's like I kind of get, I get their suspicion, even if it's painful, and
Yeah.
I can kind of get how Ty can say, I believe you, but we can't trust you. Because I think that means, like, I believe that you're telling the truth, but, like, maybe you don't even know what the truth is, kind of a thing. But yeah, that was sad. And then there's Tiffany,
Yeah.
who, like, isn't mentioned until she speaks up halfway through the section and is like, "Hi, why do I exist?" And it's like, I don't know, Tiffany.
Like, why am I here?
You're here because you made a stupid decision because Blake's hot, and I'm sorry about that. It was also like it's funny that because she doesn't remember him, he can just the whole "you're my first real friend that I actually made" is really cute and sweet. Part of me is like, what is Maggie though? But I guess he wasn't necessarily friends with Maggie. It's fine. But yeah,
They're
like
like
that was
acquaintance.
yeah. And like, she killed Molly or whatever, so that was awkward.
Yeah.
And so I think the way that he talked about that was really sweet. But he was also just like he says to Ty like, "I didn't love you like I loved Alexis, but I loved you like a friend." And I'm like, wow, way to just like come out there and say it like to everyone in this room. And like, yeah, that could mean like, you're so close to me, Alexis, you're like family, like blah blah blah. But just like, I'm so glad Tiffany doesn't remember anything because being like, I love Alexis. I know, Tiffany, I guess you exist. Like, damn. Oh, it's so harsh. Sometimes I wonder if Wildbow why he included Tiff. And if he's like, oh fuck, what do I do with this character? Like the whole time now. Because Alexis and Ty seem to have a natural place, kind of. I mean, Alexis is the like, the love interest and the like old friend and really trust and Ty has the connection with Evan and is just another person that works well with Blake. And I feel like sometimes Tiff just sort of gets shoved into scenes to be like, oh yeah, she exists. And I'm really hoping that she gets an interesting and cool arc because it seemed like she felt a lot more like developed and interesting and like there was an interesting story with her in the beginning in Toronto, like arc 4 or whatever, than now. So I'm hopeful that there's going to be some not horrifyingly tragic way to make Tiff relevant.
Sure. I guess, like, if you think about it, I mean, yeah, she kind of made a poor decision, like, awakening, because Blake's hot, basically. But, I don't know, I guess I think, like, Ty and Alexis, they already had ties with, it makes sense they have ties with Rose, and, like, Tiffany obviously was, like, did not have anything. So she is automatically more of an outsider. So I feel like it makes sense that she seems out of place and kind of like she's shoved in there a bit because in a sense she is because she's even kind of like, yeah, why am I mean, I feel like you wouldn't say that unless you kind of already were thinking that.
Realize that you were,
that you didn't really belong, right?
Right.
And so she probably already feels like that. So I don't necessarily see it as like a mistake or, I mean, it makes sense to me with the writing.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I'm curious to see what happens with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess we'll talk about Rose. I wrote, he's immediately sniping at Rose. I love it. Lol. And she's being so fucking obnoxious here. And it's like, I wonder how much of this is like conquest and how much of this is like shitty Rose who doesn't remember what it was like to be another. Because she's just like constantly dehumanizing Blake and like dismissing him and like being shitty.
Yeah, she's being shitty.
Yeah. And oh my god, and then at one point Blake said something that she said was damning and she's like, then I'll be damned because the alternative is worse. And I'm like, Rose. 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 What the fuck are you talking about? Literally, look at yourself. Literally, what are you saying? Literally, like, you know how bad demons are. Like,
like there's nothing worse.
What? Like the alternative is like you lose the Lord claim or whatever. Like, why are you even doing this? Like, you're the reason that you are all in trouble. Like, if you would all come back here and you had just been like, lol, okay, you guys can figure out who's Lord. I'm gonna sit over here. Like, nothing would be, like, everything would be fine. Like, what's that? Oh!
You know it's bad when Malia gets so upset she goes into a coughing fit.
I'm upset.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah. Well, so, and then Ty was like, how about you trust us? Rose has a plan. Like, can you trust that it's a good one if you're her, like, mirror whatever? And that made me laugh really hard because, like, Blake has never had a good plan in his life.
Yeah. Well, that's harsh, Malia. That's harsh.
I mean, okay, so catching the hyena worked. That was pretty good. I don't know that it was like, you know, like he is not on the level of Verona even a little bit, right? Like that's unthinkable. But he's not on the level of just like I don't even know. Like his plans are, oh fuck, I have to figure something out or I'm going to die. Like,
and most of the time he figures it out though, right?
right. Well, the time he had the most time to really make a plan was the time that all of his connections got erased and he fell into the trains. Like, yeah, it just sucks. And then Blake's like, Evan, let's be friends. And Rose is like, yeah, Evan's impressionable. And he's like, Evan's stronger than that. And like, Evan's too trusting. I'm not that stupid. He's not stupid at all. Like, just, Blake is so good. And Evan is also good. And I feel bad. And yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, yeah, obviously we all know Rose is being shitty. Do have to say, just as a reminder, like, and to be devil's advocate, which is never a good start, but like her main, and I mean, I get most of this is her fault anyway, but still, most of like the others she has seen besides like Evan, obviously, or that she has like summoned
interacted with or
and
whatever.
interacted with have been like pretty dangerous and shitty. So seeing a boogeyman who is not known for being a nice cuddly type of other, that's probably not helping her to be like, yeah, let's invite this creepy looking abyssal like fucking thing into my house.
Yeah, although I do feel like if she's thinking, someone went to all the effort of making this thing to come, like, fuck me over, like, just sending it out, like, casting it out and being like, go get up to some crazy shit while I'm not able to watch you seems wild, but I don't know.
But it's not in your, like, sanctuary, though,
I guess.
Because I'm like, on one hand, you could keep this thing around you or could potentially spy and, like,
right.
report back on what you're doing, even if it doesn't mean to, or you could just be like, if it's gonna fuck shit up, it can't fuck shit up
here. She sucks. Yeah, it's just funny because I feel like I used to be the like, think about what Rose is experiencing, and now I'm the like, fuck Rose, and you're like, think about what Rose is experiencing.
Oh no, I mean, still fuck Rose, but still, I mean, I just figured you do, you have to think about that a little bit.
Right. No, yeah, it is more complicated, and they do have valid reasons to not trust him, but it sucks. And she sucks.
But she's being kind of a bitch about it.
Yeah, she's being like a huge asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so then he tells them about Orr and probably how to beat him. And this is interesting because my thing was like, if he tells someone, then I think they're gonna deal with it and whatever. But like, I don't trust Rose to do anything about it. Though I could see something where she goes and sees the floor and the story he's made as being somehow impactful. I'm not really sure. But yeah, because I was kind of like, oh, if he tells someone about Orr and how to beat him, like that's great because then someone will probably do it. But I was I guess I was thinking like the Knights or like Diana or just like someone else. I don't really trust Rose to give a fuck.
Yeah, like literally anyone else.
Yeah, like hopefully he tells He should just be like, by the way, everyone.
Yeah.
Like, just at the end of every conversation. By the way.
By the
You can,
way,
this is how you do it. Somebody do it. Somebody
get a
figure it
shit
out.
ton of art. Get a bunch of, get some paint and some colorful shit and just go to town.
Just have fun. Ugh. But yeah, so then Rose is like, lullaby, and he's forced out of the house. And Blake's like, I could have done that? And I'm like, I don't know if you could have done that, Blake, because you were never the voice. Like, Rose always had to do everything. Like, I don't think you could have done that.
Yeah. He could have asked Rose, but, well, I guess, like, in terms of him kicking Rose out, sure.
Well, yeah, it's like, what did he have to kick out? Like, nothing other than Rose. So, yeah. It's interesting to me that, yeah, he can kind of go around the town, because he was like, Rose was limited to, like, places where I had been, but he seems to be able to go, I mean, at least, like, kind of all throughout Jacob's Bell. It's not totally clear.
I mean, he's kind of already been throughout Jacob's Bell, though, if you think about it.
Right, and that's why I'm, like, not entirely clear as to, like, was Rose lying, or is Blake able to, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, because he went back to his apartment,
for him. Right. But, like, could he have just, like, gone all around to places he hasn't been to, or, I don't know. He could go to the Duchamp house, which is interesting to think about. Where else has he been? Yeah.
And has he been to see Molly before? Although we'll get there, but...
Molly! No, he hadn't been. But I think Maggie took him, so...
With a mirror.
That counts.
Yeah. Not a lot of mirrors out there normally, I guess.
Maybe there's, like, a pond or something. Puddle.
A puddle. Something. Just depends on when it rains. Or who's crying around there. Like, a lot of crying.
So much crying.
Or maybe a goblin peed. Although you probably wouldn't want to be a reflection in goblin pee.
Yeah, probably not.
I feel like that would just be gross.
Yeah. So then he decides he has some goals or some priorities. The first one is to find Maggie, and then he needs to get a real body, and then he wants to get information on stuff. And I'm like, how the fuck are you gonna get a body? Like, what are you talking about?
Determination.
Like, how are you gonna get into it? I don't get it.
Okay, I got it, Malia. Like, get someone to make a mannequin, and not a mannequin, like, but I don't know, something with movable joints and all that, that's just made of, like, a giant mirror.
Ooh. So he couldn't move it?
I mean,
maybe he could. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just like a magic robot thing with a mirror on the face.
Yeah. Like, think of, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Blake as, this is worm spoiler, but, like, as mannequin? Like, if there's a mannequin but made of mirrors, and
that'd be creepy.
That'd be creepy. Like, a boogeyman mannequin.
He, like, basically is a boogeyman, so yeah.
Yeah, but he looks less like, I mean, he doesn't look
human.
I mean, I think it's safe to say they both don't look superhuman right now.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more like mannequin is, like, at least if I'm remembering correctly, it's not like he's, like, corroded or, like, has pieces missing or anything like that, right? Or, like, Blake.
Yeah, that sounds right. Right.
You know? So, like, that'd be extra creepy, though.
Totally.
When I first said mannequin, I was thinking of literally, like, a store mannequin or something with moving joints.
Same.
And then I was like, oh, but if it's actual mannequin.
But if it's mannequin.
Like, ooh, creepy.
Yeah, speaking of parahumans in these stories, the shout out or whatever to the birdcage, and the fact that Parahumans is a TV show in the Otherverse was the first, like, one of those references I've definitely got, and I was just like, oh my god. Like, I don't know, I freaked out, and then I was like, I want a birdcage puzzle. Like, God damn it, Wild Bow. Like, you need to sell out.
No, I don't. Well, maybe just a little bit, just like a little bit of mild selling out, so we can get the merch. You know, like, I want to buy that. I want to buy it all, but, like, I mean, if I have to pick between that and getting more stories, I'll get more stories. I like the
Sure.
stories.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
Mm-hmm. So, after Blake is yeeted out of the house, he is approached by some of the Fae, and he manages
Yay.
to escape, basically, by being really blunt and, yeah.
They suck so bad. Fairy are creepy and gross. Like, yeah, just the whole, like, they can get into the mirror, and they're, like, you know, playing off of each other, and then there's, like, an iron thread that can cut through him, and they're gonna expose his nerves, and blah, 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 like, speaking of parahumans, anyway. Um, and, we're gonna do all this shit, and then Blake, I mean, just, I would be so fucked all the time, and Blake's able to, like, come up with shit and get out of situations, um, like, just by being like, "That's stupid, you're stupid," like, and it
Like,
just sort of works.
goading him on, kind of. He was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's, it's it's like they're both scarier than they were before and less scary because we've seen what, like, Patrick, whatever, and we've like, we know more about, like, their capabilities, but we also are just like the fact that you can just kind of be like, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard," and they'll leave for now is interesting, although this does not bode well for future interactions.
I just want to read out this little paragraph thing of him, like, after he says that's the stupidest fucking thing I ever heard of, just because, like, I just like it. So he's like, nerves don't work that way. They work by ion channels or something like that. And music of moans and groans, the only way you'd make that work in the slightest is if you caked it full of glamour. That's not beautiful. It sounds like a 5-year-old getting into her mom's makeup kit for the first time. Oh, burn! Yeah, that's, like, pretty funny.
It was good. It was
They
very
got
good.
roasted a little bit, and
Yeah.
just like, ouch.
Yeah. This is a nice, like, it's still like, oh, you're fucked, Blake, and you're outside of the house and you're not safe, but at least there was a small little victory for Blake at the end of this chapter.
All right, so anyway, next chapter, Blake is hanging out, trying to hang out by the school to find Maggie, and he ends up meeting a couple others that tried to trick him previously, but they're much nicer now, and they end up helping him to find Mags.
Yeah. This part was fun and weird. Like, we're at the school and we can see that there's, like, diagrams and different things around it. There's guards, right? So presumably the old fairy is from the Duchamps, and the Zeitgeist police car thing is the Hames. So that's fun. But then also there's just, like, more others around. And it's not entirely clear, like, are all of these, summoned? Are a bunch of them, like, rogue agents or whatever, like, who've come to town because they can tell that, like, shit's gonna go down or whatever? Like this, woman with the black fur jacket and cat eyes, who they're like, maybe she's, like, what does he call it? A harbinger of Bast, or a Lamia, which no idea what that is. Or he's like, or demon spawn. I was like, whoa, she didn't seem like that intense, but okay. But yeah, so there's just these, and it's like, is she just here for fun, or is she, like, working for the Duchamps or whatever, right? Or Johannes or whatever. Like, it's not fully clear to me, but things are ramping up, and that's fun. I didn't understand that the pizza delivery guy was trying to talk to Blake. Similarly to Blake not understanding it. Part of it was he wasn't looking at him because he wasn't sure if it was safe to look at him, which is fun. But at one point he says, like, powerful, smart, or willing to play by the rules. Like, you have to pick two, or be prepared to have a very short existence. And this reminds me of, like, law school, they'll say like you can sleep or have friends or do well in school, and you can pick two of those things. But this is sort of the inverse of like you have to be at least two of these. And this reminds me of Rose, right? Or you can only have two of these, right? Like Rose, I think, is powerful. I think she might be smart, but she's like not willing to play by the rules. I mean, I guess powerful and smart is enough to not die, but this just feels like Rose is making bad decisions. I guess. It reminded me of her. Learning what a revenant is fun. I don't remember meeting any revenants in Pale, though there's a definite possibility that we have. But yeah, so it seems like he is someone who has died but just refused to leave. So kind of more what we think of as ghosts in, I think, like non-Otherverse context, except he's still in his body. From what I understand. Whereas, like echoes are just like remnants of really strong emotions and various things. They're not usually souls. But this guy is. And it's not fully clear. Like Blake was like, a lot of revenants have like a mission, like they have a reason for staying, but this guy just like was like no, like it was like a mistake in the universe kind of. And that's interesting. His whole shtick with always being like soft-spoken and mild-mannered is interesting as well, because it seems like that's part of his nature or something. It's kind of nice that he is friends with this hat lady, who we saw in Arc 2. Well, and Arc 1. Yeah, okay. That's sort of fun that I mean, also sad. He's just like really lonely, and doesn't have anyone else, and so he found this boogeyman to kind of help care for and be social with, which is both kind of heartwarming and sad. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I said like I don't think the drain still has a hold on Blake, and like apparently I'm wrong, which is bad. But I'm still not sure like what the drains are, and like from what I understand, boogeymen are abyssal, and so is the drains like kind of part of the abyss or something, because Blake was described as having abyssal influences when Jeremy's
during that interlude,
fawn or whoever it was, like sniffed him. And he asked if he came from a forest, because Hatwoman came from a forest, and I was like, a forest? Like, what's going on? What are these places? We're setting up these tensions in terms of Blake's longevity. He's falling apart. The drains might pull him back. It's just like dangerous to be him in general. And so that's kind of an interesting tension that Wildbow's putting into the story. Like it seems like Blake's goal is help his friends. And beyond that, I'm not sure exactly what he wants.
He wants to get a body.
Well, yeah. I'm thinking about other things, other threads in this story, and like it seems like seeing Mags and Paggy showdown is something that feels like it needs to happen.
Okay.
But it also feels like that's possibly beyond the realms of this lordship competition, which feels like the big thing. That said, maybe we're going to do the lordship thing, and then we're going to transition to like kind of dealing with Toronto again, maybe dealing with maybe dealing with Paggy, like dealing with Mags's fire, darkness, blood things. I don't really know. I feel like I'm sort of rambling.
That's cool. It's our podcast. We can ramble.
Yeah.
We can ramble. We can do whatever we want. Within reason. What?
Within reason.
I don't know what that was for, but it's our podcast. I can do what I want. What?
uh, yeah. It's now like 45 minutes into recording that I'm starting to wonder, like, do I still have COVID brain? Because my brain's just sort of.
It's cool.
But
You got the COVID brain. I've got the baby brain. Which one's worse?
probably baby. Although your baby's
I see how it is.
9
She's 9 months now.
months.
But that baby brain lasts for a couple years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, that
Yeah,
feels
I know.
worse.
Yeah. I'm supposed to be a functioning adult. Like, I'm supposed to take care of a baby, but yet I get a baby brain. That's not even fair.
It's rude.
And my eyesight sucks more, which
Yeah,
is
that
extra not
sucks.
fair. Yeah. I never thought that was going to be an issue. I was shocked. That was an unpleasant surprise. I mean, I would have had babies anyway, but like, I was just, one day I could see totally fine. The next day I kept feeling like I had something in my eyes because my vision like wouldn't clear.
No.
And I was like, man,
Oh
what's
my
up with this?
God.
I kept rubbing my eyes. And like the next couple, like, I was just like, man, what's going on? This is driving me nuts. And then it was real close to the end of the pregnancy. And so when I had Miko, and I finally was like, shoot, I'm just going to go to an optometrist, I guess. I don't know. And then, so slightly nearsighted, where I had better than 20/20 before. And she was like, yep, that happens sometimes when you get pregnant. But the real kicker, she's like, most of the time that's temporary. Not for me. I mean, she didn't say that, but obviously mine hasn't gone back.
It hasn't gone back?
Nope. Ain't temporary for me. And I guess mom had that too.
Really?
Yeah, she said that that's when her vision got worse, is after she had babies. And she's like, yeah, I never told you that. And I was like, no. You neglected to mention that, mother. But
yeah.
So
part of me is afraid of that, but also my eyes suck so bad anyway that it'll just be like a different prescription. Like, it won't be like, yeah.
I'm still like kind of refusing to wear glasses most of the time, unless I'm like, I need to for, well, I don't need to for driving. It's just hard to see certain signs from kind of far. But I can still see like everything pretty much fine.
Yeah.
It's just hard to read certain signs. So I try to wear some glasses while I'm driving. But I don't really need to see things. Like, well, I can see things pretty well. I do need to see things, but I can see most things pretty well.
Right.
I just am spoiled. So,
yeah.
Anyway, there you go. See, there's a tangent, Malia.
Woo!
I matched your tangent with my tangent. What?
Well, to get back on track and possibly do another ramble, he tells him that he killed Laird. It's funny that like the hat lady like didn't really care about the conversation until he was like, I've killed, and she was like, ooh, spill. Like that was fun. And it's just like he's like, oh, I killed Laird, and they're like, oh, that was you. And I'm just kind of like, what do people think happened, right? Because I was like, maybe they think Rose killed him. Like, what do people think happened to Laird?
They probably, I don't know. Scott.
He just sort of died. He just sort of started bleeding out of his neck and died. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a rough way to go. Just spontaneous, like, I don't know, carotid hemorrhage or wherever the fuck he got cut at.
Yeah, it's a lot. And then, but so we learn about these others who are kind of alone and trying to survive or whatever, and they need power, and they also can't like fuck with the powers that be too much. So they're also not sworn to the seal because, like, what are judges even fucking doing anyway? Like, nothing apparently. Because, like, so presumably Jacob's Bell is under the domain of the judges currently, possibly even like the judges that we know, and none of them were like, hey, you, seal. Like, god damn it. Like, I feel like the concept of things not sworn to the seal has come up a lot more often, and definitely a lot more often than I thought it would. In fact, it seems important. But yeah, so they need to get power, which they do from like making people notice them and making people like kind of wonder about them 10 years from now and how scary they are, or by murdering people. And they also need to I mean, the boogeymen in particular, Blake and Hat Lady, need to serve the place they came from so that it doesn't take them back. And that sucks a lot. And it made me wonder, like, what would the Kenneteers do with this sort of situation? Because they managed to take a lot of things and make them better. And yeah, I don't know. A lot of this shit is hard, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And so then in repayment for help, like talking to him about stuff or whatever, he's like, by the way, you know that house with a demon in it? The demon might not be in it for long, so maybe stay away from it. And he's like, oh, okay, man, yeah, I get it. You want to kill him yourself, like that's fine.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not what he just said, but okay.
It's nice trying to be, like, have boogeymen or other etiquette,
I just it's like that's not what he was saying, but okay. It's dark that he's like, I like to think if I had to kill Rose, I would just kill Rose. And I'm like, damn, like,
Well, he's
I'm
kind of pissed at her right now,
this
but
is where we're at.
this is where we're at.
Oh, fucking Rose. And it just sucks because like she doesn't remember what it's like to be an other. And I think it helped her like become a better person. Because she's really heavy on the whole, Blake's a thing and just ugh. She sucks, but it's fine. I also realized that the whole Blake not feeling fear when he was in the drains is because he was a vestige, and that was supposed to be a hint, like how Rose doesn't have or didn't have bodily sensations, that like Blake doesn't have those anymore. And I just want to say that I get it. I'm gonna make it my goal to add something to the bingo card, like Malia gets it.
Malia gets it. Have we mentioned the bingo card? I don't remember.
I don't remember if we did or not, but
someone made us
fun.
a bingo card, basically like the shit that we say commonly on the podcast.
It was very accurate.
I'm like, holy shit, Malia, we made it. Someone made a bingo card. That's all you need. Yep. Yeah. So we already met the tangent one. So check. Check. All right, let's keep going.
But yeah, so these guys are the pizza guy and the hat lady are just sort of like, we're gonna hang around, and pretty soon the practitioners are gonna start fighting, and then we get to like kill some of them when they get separated and alone, and win-win. And Blake's like, I mean, you used to be a person, like that kind of sucks. And he's like, I wasn't very good at being human when I was alive, so I feel nothing for them. I'm like, well, okay. The whole like there's enough of them comment or whatever that he made that was both horrifying and, whatever, kind of reminded me of how of Johannes in terms of like humans are winning. Yeah. The other verse is just sort of fucked, but it's fun. It's fun.
That's true.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on that part?
No, I don't think so. Just that like it's fun that the pizza guy came back. I almost forgot that he was an other. Yeah. So that was fun.
That was fun. That was pretty fun. So find Mags, yay!
Yay!
So Mags and Blake talk about the situation in Jacob's Bells, well, it's their respective situations. And she ends up taking him to go see Molly, and they're pretty startled because she speaks back.
Molly! Mags Holt. So he calls Mags Holt, which is interesting because she reclaimed the name Mags. I don't know if the last name is significant that he uses that to call her, the pizza guy. But she shows up. Her goblins are in snowsuits, which is fucking adorable. Just imagine like toddlers or whatever when they get put in a snowsuit and they're just sort of stiff and their arms are sticking out and they can kind of like waddle. Like that's what I picture.
Okay, I have to ask you this now. Because on Discord, did you see Elliot's new profile picture?
No.
Go ahead and take a peek at it. And I'm gonna see if I can find that.
Ah, yes.
Okay.
Snowsuit, pointy nose. beady eyes.
Let me find
a toque. Toque and a
hold
scarf.
On. I'm going to send you where that picture comes from. Let's just do it on Facebook Messenger because it's easier. Do you see it?
I understand this reference.
So, just for people who are like, what the hell are they doing? It's a lovely fan art picture. I don't know the source, but it is of Mags walking down with one of her goblin buds in a snowsuit right next to a shop window, and Blake's walking alongside in the window holding the hyena. It's a pretty great picture.
I would like to mark that the scary birds do have scary eyes.
Yes.
In the fan art.
In the fan art. I don't think it looks like they have googly eyes, but
they're big white eyes.
Yeah. Okay, Malia.
This is so good. I love this. Cool.
It's pretty cool. Don't look at anything else on that. I don't think it linked to the rest of the Discord, but don't look at anything else if it does, because that's the
it didn't.
Okay, perfect.
And I won't.
Great.
But it's fun because it's weird seeing fan art from the chapter that we just read and that we're just talking about. Like, that's really fun.
Yeah, right? It's pretty fun.
Yeah. Right,
just to give credit to the person, Joseph Swedged. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. They were trying to think about what pact art can be shown to Jenny, which I'm like, you can show me anything, but it was for you, Malia.
I love it.
Yeah, so thank you, Joseph Swedged. Sweijjd. I mean, yeah, everyone knows I mispronounce shit all the time, so that's fine. All right.
Indeed.
So, yes, back to what we were just talking about. Blake and Molly, they do talk, but Mags and Blake talk, and they go see Molly, and she talks to them, kind of.
Yeah, it's interesting how little, like the amount of times Blake's like, oh yeah, when you helped me out in Toronto, and she's like, that wasn't fucking me. Like, she says it like 4 times in different ways, and he's always just like, oh, it's weird. Like,
she didn't really explain shit.
She did not explain.
So, but
he doesn't. I mean, I guess they're having a conversation, and he doesn't really have time to reflect on it. But this is another thing where, like, she just says it like over and over, and she feels bad, and she doesn't want to talk about it. But I don't know. It's really funny.
Yeah.
It's interesting too that he thinks of her as Maggie. That like that's still her name to him.
Yeah.
In the same way that like she can remember Blake, and that's interesting. I wonder if him thinking of her as Maggie will help with anything.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's kind of like, hey, can you talk to my friends and tell them who I am? And she's like, no, I can't really be seen helping the Thorburns. I'm supposed to be a neutral party. And I'm like, would that be seen as helping the Thorburns? Like, whatever. Apparently the other people in Jacob's Bell know that Conquest is infecting Rose. She, used her hair in the binding, but it wasn't perfect, and he's like seeping into her or something. And I'm like, it's good people know that, but also this is bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, Conquest still needs to be dealt with, I suppose, or it's just blah. I thought we were rid of him, and we're not. But yeah, so that's the one thing he wants, and she's like, no, can't, but lol. And he's like, well, I have a favor, like another favor kind of to ask, since you said no to that first one. And she's like, I really hate that you're asking me for favors right now. And he's like, well, there's this like mermaid chick, and she has green eyes, and it'd be cool if someone saved her. Which seems like a pretty chill request. And it made me really happy that he asked someone about this.
Yeah.
I don't know what her life would be like if she got out of the water and came up here. But presumably if people went down and were like, hey, what's up? Do you want whatever? Like, I'm not sure what a good scenario would look like. But it's really sweet and would be cool if she was helped out.
Do you think they'll actually? Or I'll ask you that later.
Okay. But yeah, so they're off to see Molly, which we know and Blake doesn't know. Oh, this is a 3B. Cool.
Woo!
I didn't realize that because I was like, yeah, we've been here twice. So we definitely recognize it.
Yeah.
And the first 2 times, Maggie drops the blood and talks to her. I think she's also been telling her that she's really sorry, like, more often since she said it last time we were here.
Mhm.
But then this time, the twist is that Molly talks, which was so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she talks to Blake. Yeah,
That's fucking wild.
it's wild.
Yeah. So
I find it funny that Blake was surprised that she talked. I mean, I guess Blake hasn't interact. So Evan talks, right? But Evan's like a soul. We don't know how much Molly is in Molly. And like no, June would say things, right?
I think
About how
it's
cold and awful
more.
it was.
Yeah, but like
Like, I don't know why
if they said
he
like
didn't
hi
expect
June.
Molly to.
Yeah, but like if you said hi June, would she say hi?
Yeah, probably not. But yeah, so I guess I'm not surprised. I'm not sure if Blake is surprised because it's a normal answer or because she spoke. I could see that Maggie is like really surprised, but I was kind of like, Blake, why are you surprised? Like, you didn't know she was here. Like, what? Anyway. But yeah, this is very exciting, and I hope it leads to answers.
So yeah, I mean, just to talk like so yeah, she's been doing this ritual, or Molly's been doing this ritual every day, like 3 drops of blood, same time, roughly every day, talking to her and apologizing, basically. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Did you see this happening? Because she's basically given her like power, or given her, yeah, her so you know.
Oh, like maybe she's strong enough now that she's more able to do stuff. I mean, it seems like that's really important, but the thing that's different is that Blake is here and talks to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't really think it's just like this happened to be the day where Molly got strong enough to respond and Blake happens to be here. I think it's more like she responded because Blake talked to her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other thoughts about this or anything?
So I actually have a non-Molly related bold and specific prediction. So I'll talk a little bit more about Molly, I guess. Molly.
You have to
Well,
give some kind of fucking prediction about Molly because she's fucking talking now. This is a cliffhanger. You can't just be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna just
well,
go."
so I had predicted that Molly isn't real, right? That she, because Rose said that she was the first, that she was made heir the day Grandma Rose died. And I don't know if that's true because Rose could lie, but also she had reasons to not lie. So, yeah. And so I don't know if Molly is a figment of everyone's imagination, basically, like a constructed thing in a lot of people's memories, just like how Blake was, except Molly never existed or something. But they needed some reason as to why Blake just showed up.
I guess I
Or
would.
something.
So if Molly never existed
Mhm,
and only existed to Blake,
mhm.
then how would Rose know about Molly to lie?
Because Rose was part of Rose was around when Blake was being created. Like she was in the house for those 4 months and like
But she doesn't remember any of being in the mirror or anything.
right, she doesn't remember being in the mirror. I think because Blake not existing to her anymore, the only way that that made sense was if like she had never like if just all that had never happened. Like her just randomly being in a mirror and then randomly being out of it um wouldn't have made sense to her. And so I think that her brain or whatever kind of rewrote that.
Okay.
But she sort of knew like part of this whole Blake thing that we're making is that Molly, like that I have another cousin named Molly and she's dead. And
Okay.
that might, be like completely wrong, but I sort of thought that theory was fun. It would kind of make sense as to why Blake or why Molly responds to Blake, because Molly would have only existed because of Blake. And
Okay.
like maybe Rose and Paige were just kind of like rivals growing up and like bitches, but if they had had like one other person who was just kind of like chill, they would have chilled out more. It's not really clear and probably is wrong, but I think it's a fun thought.
Yeah, that is kind of fun. So, okay, so Molly doesn't exist except to Blake. So, and Molly can see this non-existent echo because she remembers Blake.
Well, it's kind of like, what is this thing that Maggie has like shorn up, right? Because if Molly didn't ever existed, then her goblins didn't kill anything, like nothing died here. It's just this weird mass psychosis
Yeah.
memory thing that everyone has. Um, and so maybe Molly was only fear because the only thing that was feeding into Molly was the fact that she had she was the heir, she never came out, and then she was like horribly tortured and killed. And so she couldn't say anything because the only thing that Maggie knew about her was she was really afraid and she died. And so Blake appears and has a lot more memories and information about Molly and is here for this ritual, and maybe some of that somehow transfers over into this echo. And like the more I'm saying, like the more I believe it, and also the more I'm like, this is stupid. And so I don't really know where we're going with this. But like, why would Molly talk to the scary boogeyman in the mirror, who she presumably doesn't remember because all of his connections were cut? I don't know. And maybe it's just like Mag still has that memory and connection of Blake, and that's being fed into Molly.
Okay.
Rose could have just like misspoke, or it could have just been like a dumb. There's just so many. I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll see if we
I'm
figure
so
that out
excited.
soon. Cool. All right. So, we're at our pale in comparison part, and you wrote a note that we could compare Alpie's job of shoring up the universe to something.
To Boogeyman and stuff.
Okay.
So like Alpie, her whole thing is like, I have to give people nightmares because the universe demands it. And with Blake and the hat lady and stuff, they have to serve the places they came from, or they too will be fucked. Like they need to like Alpie's job is to give people nightmares, which helps the universe, whatever. Boogeymen and stuff also have a job, and if they don't serve the desires of the places that they're from, then they can get punished. And it's interesting, like Alpie's so determined, and I wonder if she could be a bit less of a workaholic, you know, um,
Mhm.
and still not get fucked over or whatever. Yeah, it just the idea of Alpie being like, I have to do this because the universe, really reminded me of like Blake serving the drains in a way, or like the hat lady serving the abyss or whatever.
Okay. Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's kind of interesting. This is kind of random, but I was just 'cause what you were talking about with Molly and Mags and stuff. I swear for a minute I thought you were gonna be like say that your prediction was that like all of this shit is just in like Mag's head and she's fucking lying.
No, but interesting.
All right. So now we're gonna make our way to Malia's actual, like, real, legit, bold and specific prediction.
Woo!
All right, Malia, what you got?
um, um, yeah. So my prediction is that Evan will leave Hillsglade House and find Blake. I could maybe see one of the other members of his friends doing something like that as well, but I think that Evan is gonna try to meet up with and talk with Blake again,
All right.
and he'll have to sneak out to do it.
Sweet.
Or at least sneak away from Rose to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That'll be interesting. I do have to ask, okay, obviously we just left the thing on a cliffhanger. for Molly. Even if you think, like, even if your prediction is that she doesn't exist really, like, I feel like something's probably going to happen with this, right? Unless it
Yes.
doesn't. But what do you think is going to happen with this surprisingly talkative ghost girl?
I don't know. I mean, the problem is if she doesn't exist, then she doesn't really have useful information, and I really want her to have useful information. I'm not sure how she could play into Blake getting a body or whatever, because like she doesn't have a body either.
Okay, I feel like I'm not being clear. She just fucking spoke.
Uh-huh.
So, like, I guess I'm like, so you think that the whole issue with this is that she's going to be able to give information, not just the fact that she's apparently just, like, more sentient now. That shit doesn't matter.
I mean, it matters insofar that she could be like, "Hi, this is what happened," and I could be like, "Thank you."
Okay. I just want to make that clear, so we don't give a fuck about anything else, right?
No,
So,
I care deeply about Molly and her well-being and her prospering and thriving self, and I want her to be happy. But like, yeah, she seems more sentient and
okay. And so, like, is Mags just going to be cool with that? Just be like, awesome. I can talk to, like, the ghosts that isn't real, so I didn't really murder. And, like, we can be buddies now. We can be BFFs. Blake, you can reconnect with your cousin that didn't exist. This is super sweet.
Yeah, Blake didn't either, so it works out.
Okay. I just want to make that clear. I mean, okay.
This feels like a thing where you're like, oh, so Blake, like, it doesn't have anything else to do with the rest of the story? Stares at me, right? Like, this feels like you're trying to, like, that I'm wrong somehow, or you're trying to elicit something,
I mean,
but
I'm
yeah.
just interested in this. I mean, you might be totally right. You could be totally right about it. I thought that your prediction was, I thought you were gonna be going a little bit of a different way. Other than just
they're
like
gonna
information.
They're gonna talk.
Okay.
No, I mean, hopefully, like, if she's stable enough or whatever, maybe she can, like, join the squad, and she can, like, go, I don't know, help stuff, or she can, I don't know.
So, it'd be pretty sweet if, like, she joined Blake and decided, like, fuck this, I want a body too.
Yeah!
Yeah! They could team
bodies
up.
For everyone!
Bodies for everyone! Let's just all get bodies. What? Okay, cool. I like it. All right.
Yeah. Maybe she can go in the mirror world with Blake, and then he won't be, like, totally alone, and they can just, like, hang out.
Can hang out and be, like, yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Dang, I forgot to write down all my discussion question answers, so I'm just gonna probably read them off. Okay. Again, I'm sick, so I'm kind of slacking. All right, cool. Thank you for that, Malia. Our last discussion question was, besides Dionysus, what other Greek deity would make a good patron for a practitioner, and how would that shape your practice? I should make Malia read all these because I'm going to butcher the hell out of all these names. Like, really? Whatever. I'm gonna try my best, guys. I'm gonna do my best. And then Malia can correct me, and then everyone else can correct me later. And I ain't gonna change the recording. It is what it is. Just get ready for the mispronunciations of many things. All right. Captain Rhino says Hephaestus?
Hephaestus.
Yeah. That wasn't that bad. Okay. So they're the smith god of the Olympians, saying they'd be a great patron for a practitioner who creates magical items. They mention a story of him creating a superfine, near invisible net to catch his wife Aphrodite in bed with her lover Ares, so he could drag them off to be publicly shamed. So he might be especially willing to help create traps or use items to use in a vengeance plot. There's also an association with fire and like volcanoes, looks like, which could be powerful for pyromantic practice. They also go into the Roman equivalent, but I apologize. I'm going to skip it because I said Greek.
Vulcan!
And I got other shit. What was that? Okay, well,
Vulcan, right?
You do know. Vulcan. All right, well, fuck, fine. I guess we'll talk about Vulcan.
We don't have to. Just know his name. We can go.
Okay, all right, we're going to move on. But they did say something about a magical phaser, which seems cool. So you guys just have to read them. Yeah. Everscaling says that they can see Aphrodite being very helpful for connection-centric practices. Though her patronage would likely lean her practitioners toward connection building rather than breaking, less stealth, more outright manipulation. They also say they see Hades being an invaluable patron for ghosts, spirits, echoes, as one with dominion over the dead may grant some of that to their followers. For a finder, Artemis would probably be very powerful, knowing she is to change shape and hunt, easier tracking, and perhaps some effects on the familiar relationship, maybe making it stronger. Let's see.
See, you're crushing these pronunciations.
Fuck yeah! That means next one I'm going to butcher. Okay, it's Apollo. That'd be pretty bad if I... Please tell me that's correct. It's fucking Apollo.
Yeah,
right?
so far as I know.
Okay, fuck. So, Fleet Feathers says Apollo. He has several different godly aspects, many of them useful to practitioners. God of healing and plague healers are always useful. God of prophecy, like for augury. God of the sun/light, which is just a good aesthetic. God of music, dance, and poetry. And also God of male beauty. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, those are pretty solid.
That's pretty solid. Fuck yeah. Okay. They say Hermes is a good runner-up, though, which I feel like with the name Fleet Feathers, if I'm remembering correctly, that feels like that tracks. Okay. The White Duke says they gotta put a shout out for Persephone, embodiment of springtime and queen of the underworld.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. Half of what may well be the only faithful wedded couple in the pantheon, and all around badass. Her domains have a really nice balance between vegetation/fertility and death/the underworld, turning your enemy's weapons/armor into sheaves of wheat, then summoning the shades of the dead to destroy them. Has a lovely harmony to it. She's got some mystery cults, which is pretty sweet. She's a protector of wives and mothers, which is going to skew her practitioners towards women. And they say, but I hope that won't entirely exclude me. Probably not. But in general, her agenda seems reasonably chill, and it seems like the worst downside of her service will involve getting caught between worlds. Weltonator, sweet name, which has a, what is that called? A tag. I'm like being silly. You know on Reddit how it says like, whatever, guys, I'm sick. How like your username, you can put a little thing next to it that has like a little description or whatever. Weltonator says drugs are fantastic, which I like it. I just think that's funny, especially for. I should read these other like tags here because let's see. Fleet Feathers says master of the house. The White Duke is glamour drowned. Sweet.
Nice.
Anyway. Drugs are fantastic, Weltonator. Ares is probably a big favorite for war mages crossing over into divine practices. A lot of the ones in Pale basically treat war as a god they have to serve already. They'll say priests of Apollo and Hermes are like the divine equivalent of dabblers. With Apollo, you get all that good shit like prophecy, healing, disease, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to lie. Apollo sounds pretty rad. That's probably what I would be leaning towards. Hermes as a herald of the gods, a guide of souls, a protector of travelers, merchants, and thieves. Probably have to steal shit for him and talk your way out of consequences. Weltonator says, in order to remedy the lack of urine in this week's question, I'd like to bring up of Perseus. Before he was born and after his grandfather heard a prophecy that his grandson would overthrow him, Perseus's mother, Danae?
I don't know.
Danae. Deny. I don't know. Sure. Was locked up with only a tiny window allowing her any access to the outside world. Zeus still managed to get in and have a kid with her, and while he often turned himself and or his lovers into animals as disguises, in this case he had a more abstract transformation. He entered the prison as a golden shower. What the fuck? The exact translation of this is probably debatable, and I've seen it depicted as various things like a sunbeam, a trickle of gold dust, a shower of coins, or just gold water. But like the Greeks were freaks, and Zeus was the most common mythological vessel for that freakiness. And I think a practitioner who is a priest of Zeus can have all the lightning powers and divine judgment they want, but they must also reflect with this aspect of Zeus.
Wow. It's incredible.
I mean, thanks for that, man. Fuck. Now I'm gonna be like feeling pressure to bring urine into these fucking episodes. Which I'm gonna actually try not to do that, but like, that was a love. I mean, not you can't really say a lovely surprise when it comes to urine like very often, but that was kind of I mean, but that was a good story. So thank you for sharing. And then RL Raider, whose tag is Shaker4, the floor is lava. Says obvious Athena because hashtag Kippos stan, but also Aphrodite because she made me feel funny on Hercules the Legendary Journeys when I was about 8. All right. Fair enough. I mean, that doesn't really answer anything about practitioner-y stuff or magic, but I mean, maybe that's why some practitioners choose things, because they're just like, fuck it. I had a crush on so-and-so. Hopefully they're nice in real life, you know?
Yeah. I do think, like, because Kippos is a pretty good reason to choose Athena.
Kippos is a good reason. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. I mean, this is a real, like, just because we were talking about the pizza guy, unless you have another, like, question in mind.
I have a slight alteration.
Okay, go for it. I'm going to just read it as she's typing it. What's your favorite pizza? And what's the weirdest pizza topping you've ever eaten? That's good alteration. Trying to think weirdest. I don't know if I've had anything too weird.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if I have either.
With, like, pesto and stuff. Like, oh man, the best pizza, one of my favorite pizzas. Okay, let me start over. The best pizza I've ever had was a sausage and mushroom pizza in Rome. And it was fucking amazing. But my favorite kind of pizza in general, like there's this one I used to get in Davis when I used to go to school at UC Davis back in the day. I don't remember the pizza place, but it was like a pesto pizza. But it also had like spinach and mushrooms on it and pesto. And they like would bake it with like, it was like fresh spinach leaves, and they would like, I think like put some olive oil over it or something. They would like put it in the oven like that, and so the spinach would get like kind of crispy on the edges. And man, it's fucking delicious. I don't know if I've had it.
Sounds really good.
It's so good. I tried to order it here at a pizza place, and they just like made me a pizza and then just put like straight up raw spinach on it after it was cooked. No! And I was like, that's not what I was trying to ask for, but I was like, fine, I'll eat it anyway. But it's like, it's not quite. Have you had anything weird?
I feel like the first thing, or like one of the only things I can think of, is there's this pizza place on Maui called Flatbread.
Fucking love that place.
It's really good. And there's a pizza called Mopsies, and it has Kahlua pork, which is like salted pulled pork, goat cheese, and like a jam sort of a thing.
So
instead
good.
of like a red sauce. And I think describing that, it sounds really weird. It's like by far one of my favorite pizzas.
I don't know.
I think it also has pineapple on it.
Has what?
I think it also has pineapple on it.
It does. It's the only pineapple pizza that I'll like happily eat. Because normally I fucking hate pineapple on pizza. I love pineapple, but yeah, that one, it actually works pretty damn well. I don't know if I'd say it's a jam, but it is more of like a sweet, or it's a sweeter, like
it's a sweeter something. Yeah. But I can't think of like my favorite like bougie pizza or whatever, but my favorite pizza to order when I'm at home and eat a pizza is, I really like Domino's pan pizzas. And we get extra cheese, and Ben likes pepperoni, so we'll usually do that. I usually like a lot of pizza toppings, like I like more of a combo whatever style pizza, but that is more expensive, so we tend to just kind of get extra cheese, pepperoni.
Pepperoni's are pretty good, Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see what, like, because I mean, pepperoni pizza and all that is pretty standard here. at least, but like if you live in different parts of the world, I'm kind of interested to see like if you have different type of pizzas that you like. And obviously, like pizza we're used to eating the most is American style pizza. And I think American style pizza and Italian style pizza are very different. They're both valid and both delicious. Again, that
And then
like
even within the US there's like
there's different
deep
types of
dish
pizzas.
Chicago, and there's Detroit, and there's New York, and blah 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 blah.
Blah
So
blah 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 blah. Yeah.
yeah,
They're
one of my
those are both.
favorites to
Mhm.
shout out, a recommendation in case people are looking for a new pizza flavor is I used to get from Pizza Hut. We would get the toppings grilled chicken and green pepper, and it's really good.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's also sort of a different one.
I feel like that's probably not what I would recommend myself, but you know what? Whatever floats your boat, that's
You gotta
probably
try it.
fine.
You gotta try it. It's yummy.
Green pepper, like bell pepper.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had
And
pizza
chicken.
with chicken and bell pepper on it, and it's okay, I guess, but it's nothing. I don't think. Okay, I'm not trying to put down your pizza. I'm sure I'm
Ooh,
sure some people
yummy.
think it's really good. It's. I mean, it's all right to me. But hey, you know what? Everybody. Some people would probably listen to my pesto spinach mushroom one and be like, "That sounds vile," which means that your taste buds are broken. But you know, you can have an opinion, even if it's a wrong opinion. That's fine. Um, but anyway, yeah, I've heard of some weird pizza toppings out there, so I definitely would like to hear what you guys got. All right.
Yes.
Oh, my other random thing, just because we're, let's keep going with the tangents. I want to tell you, Malia, I had this weird ass
Mhm.
dream that
Fun.
you were involved in.
Fun.
It was your wedding that
Mhm.
hasn't happened yet. And the only thing I remember about it, and I wish I remembered what song it was, but like there was some random 80s song that started playing, and the royal family was there, like the British royal family was at your wedding, including the Queen of England, and they all stood up and started like it wasn't like a choreographed dance, but they all just started dancing. And it was like this was planned. Like it was supposed to be like during this song, the royal family was supposed to get up and just start dancing like just at their seat for this whole fucking song. And then just
That's
sit back down.
amazing.
Yeah, it was great. I just remember seeing the Queen of England dancing and being like, wow, she's pretty spry. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a rating and review. To support our podcast, go to patreon.com/doofmedia. And if you'd like to support Wildbow as he continues to write fantastic stories, go to patreon.com/Wildbow.
You can follow the pod on Twitter at Pale Comparison, or send us an email at paleincomparisonpod@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our Reddit thread in r/parahumans, where you can answer our discussion question and share your thoughts on this episode. In addition, if you would like to see all of my predictions laid out, check out our episode description for a link to a prediction tracker. Next episode, we will be covering chapters 10.3 and 10.4.
Woo! And then, as another reminder, our Pale Complexions fan art contest submissions are due July 22nd. Theme is
Woo!
redemption.
Woo!
All Wildbow stories welcome.
Woo!
All right. This week's fun fact. I'm sure most of you have had brunch before, maybe on a Sunday, maybe not. Sunday brunch was first proposed in 1895 by an author, Guy Beringer, and he proposed that we should have brunch in order to help with hangovers from partying too hard on Saturday.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. And I'm not going to lie. I don't know if you've ever had brunch when you're hungover before, but it really does fucking help. Except for having to like get up and get dressed to go out to brunch, but like the food and all that, it helps.
Sure. Like sleeping and stuff maybe too.
Yes. All right. Have a good weekend or end week. It's not the weekend anymore. It's fucking
Correct.
Monday. It's going to be weekend someday again,
Interesting.
So, have a good week and eventually a weekend, and we'll all just try to survive. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Cool.
All right. Bye
Bye
guys.
everyone. Woo!